What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Robert Schuller. Most of us do not truly live up to our fullest potential, but instead bind ourselves within invisible borders erected by fear. We delay our dreams out of the dread of rejection, shut the door on opportunities for fear of ridicule, and settle for a stagnant reality merely to escape the sting of stumbling. Picture, if you will, the humble seed of an ancient tree. Were it to possess a human mind, it might recoil in timidity before impending tempests, barren soils, or brutal droughts. Yet, a seed does not flourish by calculating risks. It silently plunges its roots deep into the warm earth, patiently gathering nourishment before rising, step by step, to embrace the sun's golden rays. We humans are no different. The greatest barrier keeping us from our deepest desires rarely lies in our actual capabilities, but rather in the negative soliloquies we whisper to ourselves every single day. The fear of failure is akin to an invisible cage, yet the profound irony is that its door has never once been locked. Summon the courage to take but one more step, and you shall behold a sky infinitely vaster than anything your imagination could ever paint. Failure, should it manifest, is merely a stern mentor, never a final verdict. Each fall is a chance to gaze deep into our own soul, to forge a clearer path, and to harvest newfound resilience. This message does not promise a journey paved endlessly with triumphs. It simply serves as a reminder that the world's most profound tragedy is not that we stumble, but that we never dared to venture forth to discover just how far we could truly go. When you dare to act even while fear lingers in the shadows, you shatter the most formidable boundary of all the boundary within the mind. From that precise moment, the value of life is no longer measured by the number of storms you have dodged, but by the times you summoned the valor to turn the seemingly impossible into reality. Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Rohn. When observing the chasm between those who attain greatness and those who perpetually stagnate, we tend to attribute the difference to innate talent, sheer luck, or the grace of circumstance. In truth, however, this divergence stems from seemingly trivial decisions made day after mundane day. Arduous trials are always akin to a sheer, towering precipice. The vast majority choose to stand at the foot of the mountain, gazing up at the summit with yearning eyes, only to turn away in apathy, deterred by the impending toil. Only a chosen few embrace the grueling upward trek. Despite their weary legs and ragged breath, they persevere not because they are immune to agony, but because they profoundly understand that every agonizing step is an accumulation of inner fortitude. Seeking comfort is our primal instinct. It is the shortest, smoothest, and least burdensome path. We procrastinate on self-improvement, dodging daunting tasks to hide within the familiar embrace of our comfort zones. Yet, much like muscles that only chisel and harden under the immense strain of heavy weights, the human spirit truly matures only when passing through the crucibles others choose to forsake. With every morning you wake a little earlier, every hour spent mastering a new skill, every moment of unwavering dedication to your craft, or every courageous confrontation with anxiety, you are silently sculpting a more magnificent version of yourself. These metamorphoses may seem infinitesimally small from one day to the next, but over the years, they will carve an expanse so vast it defies bridging. The reality is, life rarely lessens its severity simply because we beg it to. Offshore tempests will continue to rage, headwinds will still howl, and trials will persistently manifest in a myriad of guises. If you only hope for a level road, you will remain forever a passive drifter at the mercy of life's currents. But when you focus on forging yourself to become sharper, more resilient, and more formidable, those very jagged paths become the glorious pedestals that elevate your dormant power. A blacksmith does not forge a razor-sharp blade by shielding it from the glowing embers, but by thrusting it into the blazing furnace and mercilessly striking it upon the anvil. So too is humanity. It is the very pressure and arduous labor the masses shun that sharpens the will, forging a resolute character to unlock opportunities that a life of ease could never hope to touch. When you cease praying for a lighter burden and resolve instead to forge shoulders broad enough to bear it, you will realize the ascent to triumph begins not with a shift in the external world, but from the very second your inner self transforms. The number one reason people fail in life is because they listen to their friends, family, and neighbors. Napoleon Hill. Every individual perceives the world through a prism shaped by their own unique odysseys. One who has stumbled is quick to see peril before sensing promise. One accustomed to the safe harbor will warn you against venturing into the unknown. One who has never cradled a monumental ambition will find it near impossible to believe you can touch the extraordinary. Thus, the counsel they bestow upon you often reflects not the limits of your potential, but merely the boundaries of their own comprehension. Consider the tale of an eagle reared among a flock of chickens. Day after day, it was taught that wings are merely for fluttering slightly above the dirt, that the grand vault of the sky is too vast, and the desire to soar is but a foolish delusion. Were it to blindly swallow those teachings, the eagle would spend its entire existence pacing the narrow confines of a coop, forfeiting the majestic instinct of a sovereign of the skies. We, too, can easily fall into that very same trap. By ceaselessly absorbing the skepticism, fear, and hesitation of the world around us, we inadvertently extinguish our newly budding dreams, locking ourselves within the cage of complacency. The deepest tragedy is not that the world doubts your capabilities, but that you yourself begin to waver and question your own inherent worth. This does not mean we must shun all guidance. Sincere counsel from wise predecessors, those who possess wisdom, experience, and a genuine desire to see you thrive, remains an invaluable gift. However, advice should act merely as a lighthouse, illuminating the way, never as the reins commanding the chariot of your life. The one who shoulders the ultimate burden for your triumphs and defeats must be none other than yourself. No one understands the inferno of desire in your heart better than you do, and absolutely no one can live your life for you. Receive opinions with humility, but filter them with an icy logic and a lucid mind. Do not let the fears of others anchor down your dreams. Life only truly turns a new page when you summon the bravery to walk the path charted by your reason and intuition, even if that road earns no applause from the crowd. For ultimately, the architects of true difference were never those who blindly mimicked the masses, but rather those who sifted the gold from the silt, holding fast to their metal to write an epic of their own making. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other one thing. Abraham Lincoln. Amidst the myriad elements that forge success and failure in this world, there always exists a silent spiritual fulcrum that upholds a person through the darkest adversities. Innate talent may bestow a privileged starting line and favorable conditions might open sprawling avenues, but only an ironclad resolve is the enduring flame that will guide you to the absolute end of the journey. When that flame blazes fiercely, hardships cease to be insurmountable walls and transform into stepping stones, elevating you to unprecedented heights. Conversely, when the fire of resolve grows cold, even the most even path becomes a tedious, distant slog. Every human life is akin to a grand maritime voyage across a boundless ocean. There will be days of tranquil waters and gentle breezes where all proceeds exactly as charted. Yet tempests often strike without warning. Ferocious, roaring waves and thick, suffocating fog can obliterate all sense of direction. In those perilous hours, what keeps the helm from veering off course is not the weather outside, but the unwavering will of the captain within. We all must eventually face failure, rejection, venomous gossip, and those exhausting moments when surrender seems the only refuge. Yet, the one who ultimately touches the zenith of glory is not the one who never fell, but the one who continually discovers a reason to rise and bravely press onward. Resolve is not a fleeting burst of emotion, but a steadfast oath sworn to one's own soul. Though today I may only inch forward a fraction, or even step back to gather momentum, I absolutely will not forsake my original intent. The sheer magic of determination lies in the fact that it does not merely alter the final outcome, it fundamentally reconstructs the very core of who you are. With every extra ounce of perseverance, your inner reservoir of strength deepens. With every fear conquered, your confidence solidifies into an unshakable fortress. With every resurrection from a fall, you amass profound maturity and depth. Just as gentle, yielding water can carve through jagged boulders over the ages, through relentless persistence, human resolve silently shatters barriers once thought invincible. Therefore, do not fret over whether your pace is swift or slow, nor let circumstances dictate the worth of your capabilities. The essence lies in keeping the embers within your heart forever smoldering. Where resolve remains, hope persists. Where hope breathes, action is prolonged. And as long as you fiercely refuse to halt your stride, success will naturally seek you out, a fitting tribute to a spirit that refused to bow. Successful and unsuccessful people do not vary greatly in their abilities. They vary in their desires to reach their potential. John Maxwell. Each of us harbors the seeds of boundless potential, yet not every sprout is granted the chance to rise into a magnificent, sprawling canopy. The distinction lies in who is willing to pour out their soul to cultivate, nurture, and patiently awaken the dormant power hiding within. Conjure the image of two raw stones resting silently at the mountain's base. One stone chooses to remain motionless, surrendering to fate, allowing the moss of time to obscure its surface. The other stone willingly subjects itself to every agonizing chisel and cut from the sculptor's hand. Every strike of the hammer brings torment. Every carving strips away the rough, obsolete exterior, yet simultaneously unveils an exquisite masterpiece concealed deeply within. The human odyssey mirrors this very process. None of us are born into this world bearing a flawless visage. A person's true worth is not dictated by their initial endowment, but measured by what they are willing to sacrifice to sculpt a more perfected version of themselves. Those who touch the zenith do not necessarily possess transcendent intellect. Rather, they harbor a smoldering, insatiable desire to learn one new truth, correct one old flaw, and relentlessly advance one more step each day. The most formidable source of power does not spring from innate talent, but from the immortal belief that one can always evolve toward greatness. When you embrace the limitless expanses of the mind, you will no longer view failure as a cruel dead end, but as a crucible for self-refinement. You need not plunge into meaningless rat races with others. You must merely focus on outshining the phantom of who you were yesterday. It is that very aspiration which alchemizes long, grueling nights of study into profound wisdom, transforms bitter humiliations into blood-bought lessons, and turns silent, daily labors into extraordinary miracles. Just as a majestic river owes its might not to the force of a solitary drop, but to the relentless current endlessly flowing toward the great ocean, a human only achieves true greatness when steadfastly excavating their own infinite boundaries. Thus, instead of losing yourself in the blinding auras of others, ask yourself this: today, have you taken even one single step on the path to becoming the paramount version of yourself? The sweetest fruits of victory are not an exclusive privilege bestowed upon those gifted at the starting line. They are the righteous spoils of those who tirelessly nurture the hunger for self-perfection. When the inferno of that desire burns fiercely enough, all limitations will naturally recede into the shadows. Your latent potential will be violently awakened, and your life will stand as the most vivid testament of all, that miracles do not stem from an extraordinary beginning, but are woven from an unyielding will to rise ceaselessly and forever. Much of the stress that people feel doesn't come from having too much to do. It comes from not finishing what they've started. David Allen. Amidst the frenetic tempo of modern life, we often blame packed schedules, towering task lists, or relentless pressure as the culprits of our exhaustion. Yet, the true root of the malaise lies hidden far deeper. What sows the heavy burden in our minds is not necessarily the mountain of work looming before us, but the broken, unresolved promises we have made to ourselves. Every task left hanging is akin to a door left ajar, silently bleeding away our energy, fracturing our focus, and robbing our soul of its authentic peace. Imagine, if you will, marching forward with a heavy backpack slung across your shoulders. Every time you initiate an endeavor only to abandon it midway, you unwittingly drop another jagged stone into your pack. At first, the weight feels utterly inconsequential, but day by day, those minuscule stones amass, forging a colossal weight that crushes your spine. What bears profound reflection is that this burden arises not from the difficulty of the tasks, but from the relentless, haunting reminder of the debts you still owe your own ambitions. A sprawling list of unfinished deeds will erode your vitality far more savagely than a long, grueling day of labor brought to total completion. Any action, once set in motion, automatically triggers a cognitive loop within the brain. When that loop is not closed, the mind relentlessly broadcasts a dull, lingering alarm, akin to an unresolved melody playing endlessly on repeat within your head. Procrastination, therefore, has never once offered true sanctuary. It is merely the deferral of pressure from the present into the future, dragging along an insidious wake of guilt, anxiety, and the erosion of self-worth. Conversely, each time you conquer a task, no matter how trivial, you experience a profound and visceral liberation. It is the moment the mind seals a chapter, reclaiming scattered energies and regenerating the fierce momentum to charge ahead. Life does not demand that you vanquish every ambition in a single revolution of the sun. The critical imperative is to avoid trapping yourself in an eternal purgatory of work in progress. A river does not conquer a mountain range through one violent, raging flood, but through millions of water drops persistently weaving through every crevice of stone. Grand monuments of success are woven from small deeds brought to absolute completion, not from a myriad of glamorous projects left to rot by the wayside. When you discipline your focus to terminate what you have begun, you not only banish the specter of stress, but you forge a priceless habit, the alchemy of turning raw ideas into tangible gold. It is this very character that will conjure an aura of calm, certainty, unshakable confidence, and the sovereign power to conquer unprecedented peaks on your life's grand journey. Focus on the journey, not the destination. Joy is found not in finishing an activity, but in doing it. Greg Anderson. On the odyssey to uncover life's ultimate meaning, we possess a perilous tendency to cast our gaze far over the horizon. We default to the illusion that happiness manifests only at predetermined milestones. When touching the zenith of a career, amassing immense wealth, or manifesting a colossal ambition. Yet sometimes, this sheer obsession with the finish line inadvertently eclipses the quiet, profound beauty of the very steps we take today. Life, by its very nature, is not a racetrack where worth is validated only upon crossing the tape. It is a sprawling voyage where every winding curve, every brief respite, carries its own unique revelations and joys. A mountaineer, fiercely fixated only on the piercing summit, will soon find his legs paralyzed by exhaustion, noting only the jagged, treacherous rocks, utterly blind to the azure sky, the crisp winds, or the whispering pines flanking the trail. Conversely, the traveler who drinks in the journey realizes its true majesty is not confined to the fleeting seconds standing atop a windswept peak, but is concealed within every ragged breath, every test of endurance, and every triumphant shattering of one's own limits. The summit, when all is said and done, is but a fleeting pause. It is the brutal, beautiful ascent itself that forges a person of unbreakable granite. We often bargain with our own souls, postponing our happiness through hollow vows. I shall be joyous when this work is done, or I shall find peace when everything is flawless. However, existence is a relentless, surging river, never pausing to wait until we are perfectly prepared before granting us joy. If you hoard your smiles solely for the day you seize the crown of success, you will squander countless, priceless treasures of the present. Authentic happiness is not waiting at the road's bitter end. It crystallizes from the visceral thrill of daily progression, from the pride of absorbing a new truth, and from the quiet serenity of knowing you have lived every single heartbeat to its fullest. A master artist cherishes a canvas not merely for the second it is deemed complete, but because they revere every stroke of the brush, every chaotic blending of hues, and the transcendent hours lost in the realm of creation. A gardener does not merely bide his time until the harvest. He loves the fragile, sprouting seedlings, the fresh, verdant leaves, and the silent metamorphosis of flora through the dance of sun and rain. Thus is the symphony of human life. The essence of existence cannot be encapsulated in a solitary moment of triumph, but is intricately woven from tens of thousands of microscopic moments on the journey of self-propulsion. By all means, erect towering monoliths of ambition, but do not let them plunder the joy of your reality. March forward with furious intent, yet simultaneously master the art of cherishing the earth beneath your boots. The destination is nothing more than a mile marker. The journey is the grand symphony that scripts the epic of your life. When you learn to treasure every step and every trial, you reap not only the ultimate prize, but you touch a truth infinitely more profound, a self-sustaining peace and happiness, radiating outward from the very act of perfecting your soul. Do what you have always done, and you will get what you have always got. Sunite. We frequently hunger for radical transformations in our lives, yet unwittingly march down the same decaying, familiar ruts in our daily actions. We pray for a radiant tomorrow, yet recoil at the thought of overhauling our mindsets, our methods, or the very armor with which we face adversity. Destiny cannot magically flip to a luminous new chapter if we remain obsessively tethered, rereading the same frayed, faded pages of the past. Nature forever harbors laws that are startlingly simple, yet profoundly deep. A seed cannot rupture the earth to become a towering titan if it refuses to shatter its primal shell. A river can never merge with the vast, thundering ocean if it surrenders to slumber in the lightless depths of the earth. Humanity is bound by the same truth. No mortal can ever grasp a revolutionized future if they stubbornly cling to the archaic habits that forged their current reality. The fruits you bear today are but the brutal, honest reflection of the repetitive choices you cast into the abyss of yesterday. To subjugate and bend fate to your will, the paramount task is to rebuild your worldview from the darkest, deepest corners of your consciousness. Human nature is eternally seduced by the comfort of the familiar. Our nervous system craves sanctuaries of safety, well-trodden paths that guarantee a safe return, and routines that demand zero expenditure of vital energy to adapt. Yet, a prolonged state of comfort swiftly devolves into an invisible cage, soft and velvet-lined, but ruthlessly suffocating all potential for evolution. Legions of souls march in place, not for a lack of capability, but for a devastating lack of the audacity required to shatter the behavioral molds that have forever constrained their stature. Picture a solitary oarsman upon the high seas. If, day after day, he swings his oars in the exact same trajectory, even if he strains until his muscles tear and his spirit breaks, his ultimate destination remains the very same harbor he already knows. The tragedy here is not born of sloth, but of a compass that was never once recalibrated. In the theater of life, relentless diligence is the prerequisite, but cognitive agility and the relentless innovation of your methods are the definitive catalysts that propel you to the stars. Sometimes, the most monumental leap forward is not accelerating your pace on an obsolete trail, but rather mustering the fierce courage to halt and utterly reconstruct the very mechanics of how you operate. Evolution does not demand the denial or erasure of your past, but rather a surgical extraction of its wisdom to architect a blindingly brilliant future. A microscopic habit, refined with ruthless consistency each day, will trigger a seismic paradigm shift over the march of time. A novel weapon added to your arsenal, a seed of dominant positivity planted in the mind, a persistent act of nobility. All these are the indestructible bedrock upon which a reborn life is constructed. If the spoils of your life leave a bitter taste of dissatisfaction, summon the grit to look in the mirror and rigorously interrogate your current actions. Cease demanding extraordinary outcomes from painfully cloned choices. The universe only shifts its axis when you are willing to move yours. For the future is not spun from the fragile threads of hollow fantasies, but is aggressively forged from the concrete, visceral decisions you execute day by day. When you dare to obliterate the familiar loop, you kick open the heavy iron doors to a version of yourself that is fiercely powerful, completely untethered, and infinitely closer to the deity you have always dreamed of becoming. Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours. Marcus Aurelius. We frequently fall prey to a bizarre psychological paradox. Our eyes dart effortlessly toward the voids of what we lack, while remaining blindly oblivious to the profound treasures resting right in our very palms. We endlessly chase phantom horizons, craving grander spectacles, utterly forgetting that the mundane blessings of today were once the burning, desperate prayers of our younger selves. When a prize falls too easily into our grasp, we brand its presence as a birthright. Only when it is ruthlessly snatched away does its true, staggering worth brutally unveil itself. A person blessed with a whole, vibrant body rarely spares a second thought for the legs that carry them across the earth, until the day the simple act of walking morphs into a grueling war. One enveloped in the fortress of family often forgets the staggering value of that tender warmth, until geographic chasms or the merciless scythe of time severs those ties forever. What a profound tragedy it is that life's most magnificent gifts are so often draped in garments of sheer simplicity, allowing us to brush past them without a flicker of recognition. Envision a wanderer standing amidst a garden ablaze with vibrant, intoxicating flora, yet their gaze is fiercely locked upon a single, barren patch of soil, waiting for a seed. They bitterly lament the landscape's imperfection, completely numb to the reality that they are engulfed in overwhelming fragrance and a blinding riot of colors. We, as mortals, are so tragically alike in this regard. When the mind is suffocated by the shadows of what is missing, we hand over the sovereign reins of our emotions to the tyrant of discontent. But when we anchor ourselves, pausing to truly listen and revere what is already ours, we awaken to the astonishing revelation that this existence has already been obscenely generous. True gratitude does not assassinate the hunger to ascend. A warrior can absolutely be anchored in profound contentment with the present, whilst simultaneously bleeding and battling to engineer a radically brighter tomorrow. The pivotal divide lies deep within the psychology of the action. He who is haunted by the phantom of scarcity will hunt down success, fueled by sheer exhaustion and paranoid anxiety. He who reveres his current bounty will march forward with the terrifying momentum of utter confidence, deep serenity, and a boundless reservoir of luminous energy. They do not hunt their prey out of a pathetic sense of inferiority, but from a burning desire to construct an empire upon the unbreakable bedrock they have already forged. Occasionally, hurl your mind into a stark, alternate reality and demand an answer to this. If, upon the morrow's light, I were stripped of the very things I dismiss as given today, with what ferocious desperation would I beg the heavens to return them? That single inquiry is the master key that violently shatters the locks to a totally reborn paradigm. The tender, lingering dialogues with those we love, the sacred silence of a tranquil morning, the privilege of expanding the mind, the pulsing rhythm of health, the currency of time, and the loyal souls marching by our side. These are all priceless relics of power, treasures we tragically only recognize as they slip like fine sand through our desperate, grasping fingers. True, absolute wealth is never quantified by the hoard of material gold we stockpile, but is defined by our lethal clarity in recognizing the immense power of what breathes right before us. When you master the art of revering the now, you rip yourself free from the shackles of psychological poverty and step like royalty into the lush, opulent kingdom of the soul. For sometimes, the ultimate miracle we relentlessly hunt across the jagged edges of the earth is, in fact, the quiet, humble grace that has been secretly keeping our inner fire alive every single day. Contentment is understanding that you already possess what you seek. Alan Cohen. On the eternal crusade for bliss, we are often infected by the delusion that we must hoard ever more before we can ever touch a state of utter completion. We place our faith in the fallacy that peace will only manifest when we seize colossal triumphs, command towering fortresses of wealth, or when the canvas of our lives is violently scrubbed free of every single shadow. And yet, sometimes the profound core truths we brutally hunt for are not exiled in some distant, foggy future, but are sitting in absolute silence, reigning right at the heart of our present reality. Happiness is not a blood-soaked citadel that must be conquered at all costs. It is the sheer, mystical capacity to recognize and deeply honor the forces that uphold your existence at this very second. Humanity often resembles a feverish wanderer, tearing through strange, unforgiving lands in search of gold, clutching a weathered map, completely oblivious to the staggering truth that the ultimate treasure is buried deep beneath the floorboards of their own home. We bleed away far too much time projecting our gaze outward, chasing illusions wrapped in glittering armor, only to abandon the humble, quiet miracles that silently breathe life into our souls every day. The sacred warmth of a family gathered around a table, a raw and genuine inquiry of care, a resilient, breathing body, a day that slips by in untroubled peace, or a fortress-like shoulder ready to bear your grief. These phenomena seem so painfully ordinary, yet they constitute an immeasurable fortune that many must wade through lifetimes of chaos and agony to finally comprehend. The haunting specter of lack does not necessarily bleed from an empty cup, but from our catastrophic blindness to the nectar overflowing within it. A mind enslaved by comparison will forever manufacture demons to fear. The second a trophy is violently claimed, the mind immediately sketches a new, towering monolith, dragging us into a merciless, infinite spiral of pursuit, with no sanctuary in sight. Conversely, when we master the high art of gratitude, we ruthlessly shatter the old lenses and view the universe through eyes of fire and clarity. We cease torturing ourselves with the pathetic question, "What am I still lacking?" and instead smirk at the fates as we ask, "What magnificent, earth-shaking powers am I already privileged to wield?" That violent pivot in cognition is the genesis of an absolutely unshakable, sovereign life. True contentment is never synonymous with complacency, the cessation of effort, or the surrender of colossal ambitions. A towering ancient tree, though it viciously claws at the sky to devour the sun, forever reveres the cool, life-giving sap pumped from its roots, buried deep in the dark earth. We mortals are exactly the same. We can absolutely continue to bleed, fight, and ascend to terrifying new altitudes without ever needing to deny, degrade, or trample upon the majesty of who we are right here, right now. When you fiercely honor the ground you stand upon, the march into the brutal unknown becomes fiercely light, utterly sovereign, and infused with profound cosmic meaning. Attempt to view your current realm through the eyes of a battered exile, returning home after decades of grueling, blood-soaked wandering. It is highly probable you will experience the staggering realization that the very miracles you begged the gods for in your youth are breathing right in front of you. You once starved for a single arena to prove your mettle, and right now, you stand squarely within it. You once prayed into the void for love, and yet You are flanked by souls who silently, fiercely watch over you. You once pleaded for unbreakable courage, and it is the very storms that tore through your past that have forged the ironclad, unconquerable warrior you are today. Absolute, sovereign contentment does not arise from seizing dominion over every physical object in this world, but from the terrifyingly clear realization that your current arsenal already holds every element necessary for total victory. When the mind abandons its pathetic hunt for empty shadows and begins to recognize the staggering artifacts of power it already holds, you will comprehend that true happiness is not a desperate scramble to hijack another's life, but is the ultimate mastery of fiercely loving and profoundly revering the epic, irreplaceable saga of the life you are already living.